Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi Masechet Shabbat. We are up to Perek Yud Chet Mishnah Bet. Today's Mishnayot should be Leilu Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana Aranbayev and Eliyahu ben Burcha Israelov, Menuchatam Began Eden. Amen. The Mishnah begins, Chavile Kash v'Chavile Etzim v'Chavile Zeradim. This is the law regarding bundles of straw, bundles of soft twigs, and bundles of freshly pruned branches on Shabbat. Im hitkinan lemachal behema mitaltilin otan. If one designated them before Shabbat as animal food, one may move them on Shabbat. V'im lav en mitaltilin otan. But if one did not designate them before Shabbat as animal food, one may not move them on Shabbat. And the commentaries explain, these items are usually used as fuel, therefore they are muktzeh unless they are designated for a permitted purpose, such as animal food. Now generally, it is forbidden on Shabbat to put a non-muktzeh item under something that is muktzeh, as the commentaries explain. If a permitted item holds or supports a muktzeh object, the base itself becomes muktzeh, what we call basis davar asur. Therefore, one may not put a permitted item under something that is muktzeh, because one therefore makes the bottom item muktzeh, and it's forbidden to make something muktzeh on Shabbat. Canceling a utensil's usefulness, what we call bitul kli mechano, by causing it to become muktzeh and unmovable, is prohibited by the rabbis because it is like cementing a utensil to a structure, as the Rav explains in his commentary to chapter 3, Mishnah 6, which we know is the melacha of building. The following is an exception to this rule. The Mishnah says, "Kofin et asa lifnei ha'efrochim kedei she'alu ve'yerdu." We may overturn a basket in front of chicks so that they will climb up and down on it. Now this is allowed even though the chicks are muktzeh, because they will remain on the basket for only a negligible amount of time. And the Rav explains, a permitted item becomes a forbidden base only if the muktzeh item it supports is meant to remain there for a while. Therefore, this law does not apply in our case, where the chicks merely hop on and off the basket and do not stay at all. Now, although animals are muktzeh, they may be moved in certain circumstances. The Mishnah says, Tarnegolet shebarcha, if a hen escaped from the house and is in danger of getting hurt or lost, dochinotah ad shetikanes, we may prod it from behind until it enters the house. And the commentators explain, even though the hen is muktzeh, moving it in this way is permitted in order to bring it to a safe place. And the commentators continue to explain, normally it is forbidden even to prod an animal on Shabbat, because it is inevitable that one will move at least part of it. And the halacha is that moving even part of a muktzeh item is prohibited, like we will learn in chapter 23, Mishnah 5. And prodding an animal is permitted only for the purpose of protecting it. So the Mishnah permits only prodding the hen, where one just nudges it from behind and does not hold on to it. It is forbidden to grasp the hen by its wings, for example, and pull it, even though it walks on its legs, because the hen hops into the air as it walks, and when it does, the person grasping it would be guilty of a full-fledged act of moving muktzeh. It's for this reason the Mishnah specifies a hen. Other birds, such as geese, do not hop as they walk, and one is permitted not only to prod them, but even to grasp them if it's necessary to protect them from harm, as the Rav explains. The Mishnah continues, Midadin al-galin usyachin birshut harabim. We may make calves and young donkeys walk through a public domain, meaning one may grasp the animal's neck or sides and pull it gently so that it walks on its legs. Now, since an animal is muktzeh, this is permitted only to protect it from harm or suffering. Like we previously said, one is allowed even to grasp animals and move birds, except for a hen, because they do not tend to jump. Nevertheless, this is certainly a prohibited form of moving muktzeh, and is permitted only when needed to protect the animal. Now, as for the melacha of transferring, carrying in a public domain, there is no transgression here, because the animal is doing its own walking. And the Mishnah, the commentators explain, specifies calves and young donkeys, because one may make only these animals walk in the Reshut Harabim, and not smaller animals or birds. It is rabbinically forbidden to grasp a small animal or bird and make it walk in a Reshut Harabim, because the rabbis were concerned that when a person finds it difficult to make the animal walk, one might unthinkingly pick it up and carry it. Now, this concern doesn't apply in the case of calves and young donkeys, because making these larger animals walk is quite easy and one is not likely to pick them up. Now, the Mishnah discusses making a child move in a public domain. Now, we know there's no problem of muktzah here because a human being is not muktzah. The only problem here is the melacha of transferring. Isha midadat benah. A woman may make her child walk through a public domain, meaning she can grasp his arm and pull him. Amar Rabbi Yehuda said in explanation, Ematai, when may she do so? Bisman shu notel achat uminech achat, when he lifts one foot and puts down the other, meaning he walks on his own feet and she's only assisting him. Aval im haya goer asur, but if he drags his feet, Rabbi Yehuda says that it is forbidden for her to pull him because dragging is an act of transferring. And the Rav explains, even if she were to carry him, she would not be guilty of a biblical transgression, because we have a statement in halacha, Hay noseh et atzmo, a living person carries himself, meaning a human being assists in balancing himself and holding himself up. Nevertheless, carrying or even dragging a person in the Shudah Rabim is forbidden according to rabbinic laws. The Gemara says, as Rashi explains on page 128b in Masechet Shabbat, but the Rav does say, V'chol makom shama Rabbi Yehuda ematai b'Mishnah. It's a rule. Anytime Rabbi Yehuda says ematai, when, so, when explaining the Mishnah, when written in the Mishnah, lo ba lachlok el lefaresh divrei chachamim. He's not coming to argue. He's coming to explain the Mishnah. Hinkach hinchata kavateh. Therefore, the halacha follows his opinion, and that is in Rabotai of Mishnah Bet. Mishnah Gimel discusses the laws of a birthing animal and a birthing woman. And mialdin et behema b'yom tov. We may not deliver an animal if it's young on Yom Tov, and it's certainly not on Shabbat. The commentaries say whose laws are stricter, by drawing the baby out of the womb, because this involves excessive exertion. Aval misadin, but we may assist in the delivery on Yom Tov by holding the baby as it comes out, since this requires less exertion. And the Rav explains, why would you hold the baby? So that it doesn't fall to the ground. And the commentaries continue to explain, even assisting an animal is allowed only on Yom Tov and not on Shabbat. Now, the rabbis, we know, lifted some of the muktzah prohibitions in regards to moving animals when necessary for the animal's well-being. The Mishnah says, and we may deliver a woman of her child on Shabbat, and certainly on Yom Tov, even by drawing the baby out of the womb. As the Mishnah is going to tell us, a person may desecrate Shabbat and certainly Yom Tov to perform any melacha that is needed for a birthing woman, because her life is in danger, and obviously excessive exertion, which is not even a melacha, is certainly permitted. V'koin la chachamim mimakom lemakom, and we may v'koin la chachama mimakom lemakom, and we may call for a midwife for her, even if the midwife must travel from one place to another and leave her Shabbat boundary or tuchum, which we know one is rabbinically forbidden on Shabbat to go more than 2,000 amot from his place of residence, which is his town, or if he doesn't live in a town, his house. This limit is called the Techum Shabbat, the Shabbat boundary, or just Techum. Umchalin aleh Shabbat, and we may desecrate Shabbat for her in any other manner as well, because her life is in danger, and we know we may perform even biblically prohibited melachot for a birthing woman. For example, we may light a candle for her, which is the melacha of kindling, and we may carry oil from one domain to another for her, which is the melacha of transferring, because biblical melachot are permitted not only for physical health, but the Gemara in Masechet Shabbat, page 128b, says even to put her mind at ease at the time of birthing, because peace of mind can also be necessary for her survival, as the Tosafot there explain. The Mishnah ends with rules regarding a newborn baby on Shabbat. V'koshrin et tabur, we may tie up the umbilical cord of the newborn, shortening its length, because otherwise it might get caught on something and endanger the child. Because Rashi explains, if the umbilical cord snags, the baby's intestines might be pulled out when he's lifted, but we may not cut it off until after Shabbat. The commentaries explain, because cutting the umbilical cord is forbidden under the melacha of shearing, because it involves cutting excess skin from the body. Again, we're learning the Mishnah. Rabbi Yossi Omer Af Chotchin. Rabbi Yossi says that we may even cut it off, because otherwise the mother might accidentally tug at it, as the Meiri explains Rabbi Yossi's opinion. And the Rav tells us, Ve'alacha ki Rabbi Yossi. The halacha does follow Rabbi Yossi, shechotchin oto, that we cut it, umirakim oto, and we clean it, v'notnin alav avak adam, and we put on it the avak adam, the kayotze bo. V'chol tzoche milah osin b'Shabbat, and we may do whatever needs to be done for circumcision on Shabbat, which the Rav explains. Lekaman bidach pilka meforesh tzoche milah mai nihu. The Gemara, the Mishnah, in the next chapter will explain what exactly it means, the needs for a circumcision that can be done on Shabbat. And that is in Rabotai today's Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai leolam. Amen v'amen.